Hello, my name is Brett Spence, and today we'll be talking about the French army during the French Revolution. Alright, let's begin. In order to talk about the French army during the Revolution, we must talk about it before the Revolution. After the 7 Years' War, the French army went through many reforms, with them proving useful in the American Revolutionary War, but the war put France into more debt, which put more strain on the treasury, with this being one of the reasons for the French Revolution. In 1789, the French army had 104 infantry regiments, with 79 of them being French, 11 being Swiss, 8 German, 3 Irish, and 1 Ligue, which is now modern-day Belgium, with each regiment having 2 battalions, except for the King's regiments, which had 4 battalions, with the 1st Battalion having a company of grenadiers and the 2nd Battalion having a company of chasseurs. The King's household units, known as the Militaire du Roi, had a total strength of 8,000 men, with 2 regiments of Garde des Corps, which protected the Paris exterior, the Swiss Guards, which had 4 battalions, and the French Guards, which had the largest contingent within the household troops, with them having 6 battalions, and in addition to their Paris duties, they were responsible for maintaining public order in Paris. In 1788, the French Guards Regiment was commanded by Marshal Louis Anthony de Gunthun, Duke of Brienne, who commanded the French Guards since the Battle of Fontenay on May 11, 1745, and had an excellent relationship with his men, which he called his children. But when he died on October 19, 1788, the French Guard was saddened by his death, and he was succeeded but not replaced by Louis-Marie Fronett, Duke of Charlotte, who gained a reputation as a harsh disciplinarian who stripped many of the Guard's privileges and introducing a Prussian-style code of military discipline on the Guard, but not the same level of discipline on the officers, who left the day-to-day administration to NCOs and were largely absent. This made the Guard susceptible for revolutionary ideas due to them living in Paris, with them having families in the city or working there to supplement their poor pay. As political events escalated in the spring and summer of 1789, Charlotte confined the Guard to their barracks on June 20th, but the Guard refused their bread ration and absconded the barracks and attended communal meals with the citizens, and when Guardsmen refused to fire on supporters of the National Assembly, they were arrested. But on June 30th, the Guardsmen were broken out of prison by revolutionaries and treated lavishly at Palais Royal. When Charles heard of this, he ordered the Guard to Saint Denis without their weapons, but the Guard refused and sent him an open letter saying that because the death of Marshal Biron, which we now doubly regret, we did not know the treatment that you made us suffer. Do you think you can give us courage by degrading us? You treat brave men like they treat American blacks. With the unrest in the capital, King Louis XVI ordered troops under the command of Duke Victor Francis de Burgh to protect Versailles and surround Paris, which led to French Guard fully supporting the revolutionaries. On July 20th, as the capital continued to fall into anarchy, the Royal Armée Cavalry Regiment was sent to restore order at the Place Louis XV. In the resulting confusion, a guardsman was killed, and in response, a battalion of French Guards in full battle order and followed by an angry mob attacked the Royal Armée, which forced the cavalry regiment to retreat, and suspecting attack by Barclay's men, the mob armed themselves by looting gun shops. On the 14th of July, the revolutionaries attacked the Bastille along with the French Guard that sided with the revolutionaries, killing the commander of the Bastille, Bernard Louis Jourdan de Lanay, with the survivors of the garrison being escorted back to their barracks by the French Guards, who protected them from the mob. The next day, Châtelet and the rest of the officer corps resigned, and the king allowed all guardsmen and deserters to join the Paris militia, now called the National Guard, with the last guardsman deserting his post on the night of the 31st of July, with the population of Paris welcoming him with open arms, and the French Guards were disbanded on the 31st of August 1789. Following the events in Paris, other regiments started to disobey the officers and formed links with local popular societies and National Guard, and in 1790 a wave of mutiny swept the army, with regiments refusing to obey the officers, seizing regimental colours, revolts, imprisoning their officers, and seizing pay chests. In an attempt to restore discipline in the army, the National Assembly voted to abolish political associations in the army, but the garrison in Nancy refused and mutinied. Fearing the mutiny would spread, the government sent 4,500 men to quash the mutiny. When it looked like the mutiny would be resolved peacefully, but at the Stamford Gate, the two forces crashed and the mutiny was quashed, with the mutineers being severely punished, with the Jacobins and the public outraged by the harsh punishment. In 1791, with the disbandment of the Swiss Guards and the execution of King Louis XVI, the army went through a series of reforms. With officers' commissions now open to all male citizens, recruitment would now be surveyed by local municipal authorities. A new code of military justice was introduced. Management of regimental finances was reformed. Infantry regiments now had 2 battalions, with a battalion having 8 fusilier companies and a grenadier company, with the 2nd Battalion losing their chasseur company. The regiment lost their traditional titles, with foreign regiments now assimilated into the French army, and the National Guard replacing the hated militia. There were many reforms after the 1791 reforms, with many officers quitting en masse due to their authority being undermined by rebellious troops and fear of the reorganization of the revolution, with the cavalry being the worst affected due to many of its officers being from the aristocracy, with the remaining aristocrats fleeing or were killed during the terror. In the 1793 reforms introduced conscription and the Demi Brigade, which was made up of 3 battalions, with each battalion having a grenadier company and 8 fusilier companies like the 1791 organization, but the 1st Battalion was made up of regular infantry, which wore their old white uniforms with tartan helmets. The 2nd Battalion was made up of National Guard, and the 3rd Battalion was made up of volunteers, which were poorly trained and equipped. They wore their civilian clothes but wore red Parisian caps with the cockade of France. The French Revolutionary Army would be the building blocks for the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, his marshals, and the Grand Armée that would lead Napoleon becoming master of Europe. If you like this video, like and subscribe. See you next time.